The South African Depression and Anxiety Group says children as young as 5 can experience depression, and the youngest person in the country to take their own life was 6 years old. These grim facts emerged as we mark World Mental Health Day, and now we're joined by the South African Depression and Anxiety Group spokesperson, Vanishaa Gordhan, who joins us live now. Thank you so much, Vanishaa, for your time. I mean, these are children, and sometimes we take it for granted that, you know, a child has depression. How do we look out for the signs as parents?
I think it's so important to know that the signs are there often, and what happens is that we're not exactly looking for it, or we haven't noticed it. But a lot of the children might experience feeling sad, change in behavior, maybe even they're a little bit more irritable than they used to be, maybe they're showing a little bit of anger. Talking about mental health and giving them those words that they can use becomes so important. So asking them, how are you feeling today? What was something today at school that made you happy? Was there something that made you sad at school today? Not avoiding, but not only having the conversations around, did you get any homework? Have you done the homework? But how are you feeling? How are you doing? How was your experience? Becomes really important when it comes to children.
And, sometimes, Vanishaa, there's something else, though, that happens. Teenagers, as parents, we're asking them, how are you doing? They are locking themselves in the rooms, do not want to talk to us. How then do we navigate that? Because we don't want to push too hard, but at the same time, we don't want to let them go.
Absolutely. And I think that's a very big question. And I think there's a lot to unpack when it comes to that. I think talking mental health, especially about changing the narrative. Today is the day where we speak around mental health so that we're reducing the stigma. We actually want everybody to be able to have these conversations, right? To say, how are you feeling today? What have you done for your mental health today? Have you been feeling sad and lonely? If you have a teen that might be isolating themselves, maybe they don't want to talk to anybody, maybe they don't even want to talk to a friend, maybe asking them, who do you want to speak to? Are you comfortable speaking to one of your aunts or your uncles? Or even maybe telling them, listen, I know you don't want to speak to me right now, and maybe it might be a little bit difficult, but know that when you want to speak to me, I'm here in the most non-judgmental, completely caring space where it's actually a safe space for you to share your experiences, what might have happened, what might be stressing you out in this moment, whether it's school, whether it's personal, whether it just be how you're feeling.
And we're having this conversation in the context as well of parents who themselves may be overly burdened, and they sometimes become so consumed by what they're going through that they do not see the SOS signs around their children. So how then does the family begin to get help in that particular regard for the mother as well as the child?
I think first things first, to actually reach out. If you're not sure about what is happening, if you have a teenager that is struggling and you don't know how to start that conversation, if you as a parent are feeling overwhelmed and you don't know what the first step could be, reach out to SADAG. Speak to one of the counselors. They're there to support you. We open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for the counselors to help you find those resources, maybe understand a little bit where you're coming from. Also understanding what stresses you might be under and how you can manage those better. I always say this, and I think I say it obviously like a broken record, but I think it's so important to have these conversations, even with the littlies, to start saying, how are you feeling? What's going on? To have these open conversations and have these spaces within our homes to be able to have these open conversations where there's no judgment, where there's complete care and support. And I think that's where we start.
So there's something, though, that one thinks about, for example, a self-check-in. And given what we are seeing right now, the rising cost of living, a number of families are struggling right now and battling to make ends meet. So how then do I begin to have conversations with myself and understand when I'm now at a stage where I need help?
a check-in is so important. And I think, that's one of the things I think that SADC has been saying for the last couple of years, to just say, check in with your mental health. Put that alarm on your phone and ask yourself, how am I feeling? Where is my headspace right now? Maybe put that alarm 3 or 4 times a day so that you also are absolutely aware. I think, doing a check-in with family members, we all know that we have WhatsApp groups for days, sharing these coping skills, leading by example. If you see this, this nice snippet of doing a mindful minute, share it with the groups, share it with your loved ones. And it all starts with you, right? For you to actually say, I'm checking in with my mental health. And maybe one of your friends, Mary, or one of your family members says, Mary, Peter is actually like using these self-help tips. Maybe I can also use it. Maybe that's where I need to start. It's so valuable to see, am I investing, even if it's 10 minutes a day? And I know it's hard to say, take out an hour, take out 2 hours, you have to go to the gym or you have to do yoga. Take out 10 minutes where you are checking with yourself, you're looking after, investing in your own mental health, whether it's something like doing breathing exercises for their 10 minutes or taking a walk outside or sitting in the sun. These are simple things that we can do. And I think it's so valuable to touch on that practicality.
And those practical steps right now, I'm thinking about them in the context of people who are always with their devices in hand. And this, of course, also adds further pressure. You think about social media, the challenges that this also further, pose for such an individual. So when we take these walks, when we do the check-ins, moments to breathe and all of that, is it advisable to have the device in hand?
I think personally, that's coming from me, is do not have it. I think take a moment. I always say this to a lot of people. When you're feeling overwhelmed, in that moment, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling stressed out. Take a moment. Put an alarm for 1 minute or 3 minutes where you are away from your phone and you're just doing a breathing exercise or you're making a cup of coffee mindfully. Just today, I was sharing a few of these skills where I said, at the dinner table, talk more than being on our phones. Let's maybe take this 20 minutes just to have a discussion, have your supper where the devices are not around. And I know that our devices are constantly with us. And maybe if you want to use your device, use these apps like there's this I Am app where there's affirmations, where it reminds you that you have to talk to yourself in a nice way. I always said this, is that, talk to ourselves in a way where if we were stressed and overwhelmed, right, we're talking to ourselves like we were our best friends. What would we tell our best friends if they were feeling overwhelmed and stressed? We would say, don't stress, everything is going to be okay. And we would speak with such love. And I think that's the first thing we need to start with ourselves, to speak with that love and affection and care.
And that goes to the power of words. Thank you so much, Vanishaa, for that. Just, I'm thinking about it right now, challenged. I'm going to make the cup of tea or coffee mindfully, be present in the moment and not just simply, stir, get together and move. But thank you so much for, sharing some of those tips with us. I mean, this is something that sometimes we take for granted, being present in the moment. Thank you for those tips. That was the South African Depression and Anxiety Group spokesperson, Vanishaa Gordhan.